appreciate you guys being on, and I'm really excited about our audience to be able to hear about where you guys came from and how you've kind of worked up to the position that you're in. Will you guys mind sharing with me the story about how you jumped from being in the corporate world and then jumping into the entrepreneur world?
Yeah, I'll kind of jump in there, because it starts with me, and I was what you would call corporate as far as accounting goes, Gary, which is a large firm, a top 10 firm in the nation. Started there out of school, and kind of like a lot of people, that's just the expectation is you're going to go to the place that pays you the most, that has the most what we call prestige. And I was lucky enough to get on with one of those groups, and it was a great spot. A big place, met a lot of friends. Did really well. Was kind of progressing in my career, and just got a call out of the blue from a really small firm from my hometown, who was looking to expand into this area, which is in Southwest Missouri, and asked me if I'd be interested. And I guess you could say at that point, I was, just married, did not have kids. So I was kind of at that perfect stage where we were dual income, no kids. If I was going to do something, it was time. If not, I was probably going to get the golden handcuff and I was going to be stuck. Probably like a lot of people go into corporate, have that discussion too. At some point the pay just doesn't, it's hard to kind of break away from. So I was right at that tipping point, and I had just enough of an entrepreneurial bent that said, maybe if I'm going to try something, let's try it. Worst case, I'm going to bust my ass kind of as I leave out on good terms. And then if it fails, I'll just come back. I kind of had that safety net, and I felt very good about that. So I jumped out and, came on board with this small firm, and, that's a whole long story there. But, immediately I was kind of put in charge of an office when I'd never managed people. I'd never run payroll. So it kind of threw me into the entrepreneurial mix just right off the bat.
That's great. And then how did that getting thrown into the mix, where did that lead to? What were the next steps? What came after that?
So it's really interesting because I started out and I was 3 hours away from the home office, and this was in 2005. So, technology was just different back then. There really wasn't Zoom. There wasn't these platforms where you could interact. So, it was a kind of you're on an island. So I was kind of thrown to an island, and the partners were good guys, but to be honest, they weren't very good businessmen. And so by default, I started out not being a very good businessman either. I inherited a couple of team members from the group that they bought out to bring me in on, and they were really bad. I hate to say that, it sounds terrible, but they just were not the right fit. So my very first hire was an intern in college named Jared Duckett. And that was probably the best decision I ever made, during that time period was bringing Jared on. So we were just thrust into the entrepreneur mix, and it was just kind of figure it out as you go. Kind of looking backwards, it was such a backwards way to approach it, but that's all we knew at that point.
Yeah. And so what were some of the mistakes that you guys made along the way? That's an awesome story about how you guys met each other. And obviously it wasn't a perfect world. To your point, everything kind of rises and falls on leadership. So if you're with people who aren't as strong in business, obviously you're only going to be at that level.
Yeah.
How did you kind of break that mold? What were some of the mistakes that you had to go through to get to the level where you're at now?
Well, there's more that we could recount. I mean, to be honest, and I'll kind of share a few. Then Jared, I know you have a few, but my first one was I'll say this: when I made the initial jump, I really didn't have a vision in my head of what I was wanting. I just thought, well, this is something different. Well, in hindsight, and this is what we try to tell dentists to do, is always, if you're going to be making a jump, try to visualize what you want that end game to look like. So start off with really no basis of how things was going to work. It's just, we'll just jump in and start working and see. And so that was kind of a starting point. We really, in our practice and with the other practice, well, we really didn't have any kind of vision. There was no purpose or mission. There was no core values. So there was really no guiding principles. So what happened was the people I was telling you about, Gary, who were bad hires, they stuck around because I didn't have the guts to have a tough conversation. Yeah. So it just kind of was this culmination of these little micro explosions that did not happen led to this one massive explosion where, all of a sudden you kind of have a mass exodus of these people who weren't there in a terrible way, a very unempathetic, horrible leadership type way. Luckily for me, Jared had at that point had stepped in and was totally crushing it. And I knew that he was the future, of where we wanted to go. And I actually had a guy ask me a question I thought was really awesome. He said, hey, when I was trying to decide what to do with these team members and Jared was there, he said, do you want to build a team with what you got or keep the team you got, or do you want to build a team of Jared's? And that kind of crystallized in my head how important starting with the right team is. So those are just a few of the really simple foundational stuff. Jared, as you're kind of looking maybe on the partnership side, you probably have some good insight there.
Yeah, I would love, Jared, to hear about how you felt, first of all, going through that negative environment, right? Which we've all been in and I've created myself. So full disclosure, I've made bad environments before. What did it feel like to go through that? And then how did you come in and fix it? And then where did you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah. And it's funny now, that's almost 15 years ago, Bill. We're going back and thinking about this, but like Bill said, when I came in, I was an intern, and was able to get in, worked hard and kind of worked my way up. And I'll never forget the day, where I was offered partnership to buy in and be a partner with these individuals. And I go back to what you said, Bill. I was just excited at the opportunity. Kind of think about a dentist. They've got an office they can buy into. They're like, let's go. But I didn't know what I wanted that practice to look like, that firm, now we're talking accounting firm, to look like. I was just so ecstatic. I'm like, let's go. So I didn't really I'll just tell on myself, I didn't do a lot of due diligence, to be honest with you. I kind of just skimmed through it. It's so funny me saying this because this is exactly what I tell dentists not to do today. Don't just jump on the opportunity. Do the due diligence first. I made the same mistake. And that's why I'm so passionate about what we do, is because I made that mistake. I just jumped in. I was so ecstatic. And then when I got in and we started working, and I'm blessed to be able to work with this gentleman, Bill. I mean, he's kind of my mentor and has taught me most of the stuff I know. Is what we didn't have. And I'll say this, Bill, we talk about the 4 pillars of business, and it's leadership, team and talent, growth with profitability, and then systems and processes. And I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but a lot of times we say a bar stool's got those 4 legs, and it's a really good bar stool if all 4 of those things are sitting on the ground. I don't know if we had any of those.
So you just had a cushion. No legs,
or just a hard wood top, man. Not even a cushion.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, we just had no vision, no mission. That's missing the leadership. Team didn't come first. I hate to say it that way. Growth with profitability. We didn't know how to grow, what to grow. We just wanted to grow.
What was that pivotal moment when it was just like we're going the other direction like a speedboat?
Well, and I think this is why Jared and I will say we love talking to partners, because we are so passionate about it, because we have been with good partnerships like the one we have now, and we've been a part of rough partnerships. And I'm going to say these are good guys. These are good people. These were friends of ours. But we were part of this group, and I think you can relate to this, Gary, and I know a lot of the multi-practice owners can identify, where it was all about the meeting after the meeting. It's all about, okay, we're going to have a staff meeting. We're going to come up and, we'll talk about nonsense that makes no difference at all. We'll all laugh, and then we'll all go home, and then we'll all gripe about each other behind each other's backs, right? That's just how it went. And, there was generational differences that were elephants in the room that there was no discussion around. And so it actually came to a point where we hired a consultant, an accounting consultant nationwide, to come in. And to be completely honest, he took a match and just blew the whole damn thing up. I mean, he just blew it up, and he knew he was doing it. I think he kind of enjoyed doing it. He kind of was smiling around like it was hilarious. We were like, oh my God, the world's ending. What's going on? He lit the match that he knew needed to be lit. And so from that point forward, we kind of all lawyered up, and we stopped talking. We had 3 different offices, and everyone was an island, and it was kind of like circle the wagons. We're still together, but we're not. and let's let the attorneys deal with it. So we shut off communication with our other partners. Another huge mistake. We were too cowardly. Is that the right word, Jared? To actually,
probably.
Engage in meaningful dialogue about, we see the world differently. Does it make sense to be partners or not? And if not, how can we, in a good way, where our team and our clients are not harmed, move away from each other? It didn't happen. And it literally blew it up. So on May 1st of 2015, Jared and I finally formally got out of our old partnership and formed Duckett Ladd. And that's the inflection point, Gary. That's when everything changed.
Yeah. It sounds like the beginning of a bad joke when accountants lawyer up and against each other, there's going to be trouble. So, but that's awesome. And then it sounds negative, right? But the way I look at it is, you cannot succeed until you have some kind of failure. And usually the more you fail, the more opportunities for success, as long as you're moving in the right direction, right? And as long as you're framing the failure in the right way, right, as a learning opportunity. And you guys definitely did, because in 2018 and 2021, you guys were now one of the best. So you were one of the worst places to work for, to your own account, and now you're one of the best places to work for. How does that feel? And then how did you get there? Because there's other people that are stuck in that, and it's not easy, but there is a process.